Hello there, it is Sunday, the 2nd day of July 2017. A very good afternoon and many thanks indeed for joining us at this hour. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim and this is the campaign edition of Choice 2017, and this is where you're going to get an all-rounded coverage of the ongoing campaigns. And we are just about 36 days shy away from the D-Day, that is the August 8th general election. And speaking about campaign, it seems like a dull day today, but we'll never have a dull day here in studio because, you know, the two main protagonists, that is Core and on the other hand Jubilee, have decided to take a rest. But in Homa Bay, Joho, that is Ali Hassan Joho, Mombasa governor, is currently conducting a rally in Homa Bay County and apparently is leading about 10 ODM members of parliament there. We're going to go straight there in a short while. But before that, let me introduce my guests here in studio. And on my right is Jarim Omogi, who is an aspirant for the Ugenya parliamentary seat. And we have Kevin Owidi, who is a political analyst. Professor Macharia Munene is going to join us shortly. Before we start our discussion, let me just take you straight to Homa Bay County, where the NASA rally is already underway.
Awati koso fika watu. Winyoka wijo watu pinyeji. Ojaka kieli ya kaboni. Ana mako pinga dikende.
Of course, there is Millie Odhiambo addressing NASA supporters there in Homa Bay. We're going to go straight back there once she starts speaking in a national language. But here in studio, I'm together with my guest right in. We're going to discuss several issues. Among them, issues to do with IEBC. Remember, we're just a few days, that is about 36 days to the general election. And already we're seeing some sort of pre-election jitters. Before that, let's go to City Stadium, where Mandera leaders, that is Mandera Jubilee leaders, have been addressing their supporters. Well, those are Mandera's Jubilee leaders talking to their supporters there, and they're being led by the current Mandera Governor Ali Robo, who's facing a very stiff competition from EFP's Hassan Omar, I believe. And of course, it's going to be a very hotly contested seat there. But before we talk about Mandera politics, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is something to do with, you know, the IEBC and some of the claims that has been raised by the opposition NASA. Let's now listen into what the IEBC, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, had to say about the voters register, which has not yet been made public, and what NASA had to say as well.
003, 006. All returned particulars of alleged voters who do not even exist. Even more strange, searching using some ID numbers of dead relatives of NASA Secretariat staff, those who have recently, in the last 2-3 years, perished, showed that some of these numbers now, their numbers, had been assigned to other voters.
NASA claims
the electoral bodies, that is IEBC, have allayed fears that, of course, they're saying they're going to make public those register and as well as the polling station, but it's something that the opposition are hearing none of. And let me just bring my guest here, and they're going to contribute on this issue. Let me just start with you, Owidi. Do you think, the trust issues have been brought forward again?
I think IEBC is taking the trust issue for granted. To build trust within the people of Kenya, within the two protagonists, if there is a claim against them, a claims the way in which they are handling the impending elections, they need to investigate and tell Kenyans as such. I personally tested a number 134, and it gave me a voter in Roysambu. A number 134 as an ID number. Yeah. That means the register still has problem. And in any case, by giving us an opportunity to check if our records are correct, does not eliminate if there are any fictitious voters also, because these fictitious voters will not check, so nothing will be said about them. So it is important that the voter register be made public for all and sundry to see. You remember when the presidential election results came, people didn't know anything about it until it was published, until we noticed there are some constituencies which had exactly the same results for presidential candidates. What the candidates get in one constituency is exactly what they get in the other for all of them. Such things do not occur in natural causes. So it is important that they make the register public, and also whenever a claim is made, they take time to investigate, not dismiss it.
Prof, before I come to Jarim, do you think the opposition has all the rights to worry? Because they're saying IEBC has not yet come out clean, and they're saying their fears, of course, they've not substantiated it, but they're saying their fears that there might be secret polling station out there.
Thank you for having me, Ibrahim. One, it is important to note that we don't need a peaceful election. What we need is a credible election. Two, we are doing so poorly in data in this country. You can't tell me since 2003 up to date, only 92,000 have died, yet vital statistics shows the other way around. And therefore, it is upon the IEBC to prove otherwise. Yet, yes, it is important that NASA is coming out with these issues, and it is not upon NASA to prove whether they are wrong or right. It's upon IEBC to say whether it is right or wrong on this issue. I can tell you trust is very important when coming to election.
Of course, perception issues there, that is what made the previous commission to be bungled out of office. And speaking about IEBC, they also had some reactions there to those claims that has been raised by NASA. Let's listen into the IEBC chair, Chebukati.
All our systems and processes are in place. If you talk about fairness, and if you talk about transfer of staff, for example, all the returning officers are moving away from their home constituencies, their home counties, to other counties, so that we have at least the face of Kenya reflected everywhere, so that you don't have somebody familiar with the environment being a returning officer in that area. So those are some of the measures we are putting in place, because we cannot talk of fairness if it cannot be seen. I mean, you should be able to see that on the face of it. And of course, we have all the other processes in place. You can see verification of voters is ongoing, and that is a process towards preparing the complete register. We received several comments from several political parties, and yesterday, a team was convened to look at some of the complaints and concerns which were raised, and it will come up with a report which you shall make public. So the whole idea is that if there are integrity issues, we should be notified so that we take care of those integrity issues.
That is IEBC Chair Fuller Chebukati. They're saying that they should be trusted with their job, promising that he and his team are going to deliver free, fair, and credible elections come August 8th. Now, Prof, let me just bring you in here now. Note that there are claims that have been made by NASA. There are those who are saying that these are sensational claims. And time and again, we're seeing IEBC, they've been put on the spot on several occasions. I don't know, what do you have to say about that?
Well, the IEBC has challenges. That is not in question. But some of the claims are overstretched. It is interesting you showed Salim Lone as the one making statements. And he is a good man, an expert on spin doctoring. And he's been doing that for a long time. He's an ODM spin doctor. So when he comes there, the first thing you just watch him and then listen. And you can tell the two. So when I see someone like Salim Lon making statements, you put a question mark in the first place.
But Prof, don't you think IBC should make public
of course.
The register and
the IBC should make public the register. No question about that. They should be made public. Any questions raised should be addressed in a proper manner, and I think they're going to do that. So the problem that is arising is that we have made a tradition of casting aspersions where there should be no aspersions. This IBC team went through a rigorous process of being vetted by the same people who are complaining. So the issue is not the team. It is the created perception that if it doesn't go a particular way, then there's something wrong. And my friend there, Mtumishi, let's call him Mtumishi Kofia. He said that the election should not necessarily be peaceful, but credible. You cannot separate the two of them.
Yes.
Because peaceful election and credibility go together. So the country is going through a difficult time. Let's admit that. And to downplay peace is dangerous. And since there has been precedent where people say they were going to cause chaos if they don't win, we don't want that, you know. And I think every person using common sense should know that you cannot preach chaos and expect credibility.
Owedi, is there a need for IBC to make the voters register public together with the polling stations? Because the deputy, the NASA's deputy leader, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, is on record saying that, you know, the more they are delaying, you know, they're affecting also the planning that is supposed to be underway currently in their party.
Correct. Even this piece the Prof is talking about cannot be there when people think the IEBC is already compromised. To make us be at peace, make the register public, let the public scrutinize it to the end, let them be satisfied that every name that appears on that register is a valid and genuine voter. Otherwise, that piece we are talking about is not going to be there. In any case, they keep on saying that some people have promised chaos. Nobody has promised anything. Nobody. I don't remember if I asked you to play a clip where anybody is promising that if the election doesn't go their way, there will be chaos. There is nothing. My friend had said that we better have a credible election than have peaceful. What he's trying to say, people are more interested in having a peaceful election than having a credible one. We must have a credible election to bring in peace. If it is credible, nobody will bring chaos. So that means credible is superior to peace. It is superior because it is the one that peace follows. Yes.
Jarim.
Yes.
IBC says, you know, the claims that have been raised by NASA are unfounded, and we've not seen any kind of evidence that has been brought forward by NASA in regards to all these claims. They're saying there are extra polling stations out there. What do you have to say about that? Is it about time that NASA should come out with some sort of evidence to support their claims?
Last week, I think this week or last week, there was a debate where the chair and others were in, and it was live in one of the stations, and he talked of 70% preparation. So that tells you we've got about 30% to cover so that we could have whatever we're calling an election. It is not upon NASA, again, let me repeat, to provide that evidence. It's upon the IEBC to prove otherwise, that indeed there is nothing as far as the jitter that the country is in or NASA bring out is concerned. And let me just correct Prof. It is not right to say, you know, when you see Lon there, just listen to him and go. I think that is not right. He's a spokesman currently for the coalition. Yeah. And for him to bring that, at least he needs to be heard. And it's upon, again, IBC to say otherwise.
Jarim, hold on to that. Let's go straight to Homa Bay County, where Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joe is leading about 10 members, NASA members of Parliament, and they're currently addressing their supporters in Homa Bay. Let's listen in.
The young people of this country, everything that has been stolen from young people. Starting with NYS, they stole from young people. young people of this country. When it comes to lack of ugali, it is the young people who suffer the most. When it comes to lack of unga, it is the young people who suffer the most. And therefore we are saying and we are declaring that come 8th of August, the declaration from this summit ni kwamba Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 anaenda wapi? Gatundu. Na William Ruto tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 anaenda kwa Mama Abi. Aende akachunge Abi vizuri na sisi tutampatia hiyo nafasi. Na tunasema ikifika tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 rais wa Kenya wa 5 atakuwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Jaguru wadogo duero kamano. Nikechubiro kake ndubetus. Wankaka Nyanza presidential campaign team. Wakitiji ariyo. Tich mokwongo. Any more.
That is Homa Bay Woman Representative Gladys Wanga addressing NASA's supporters in Homa Bay. We do expect Ali Hassan Joho, that is Mombasa governor, to also have his time there. But the NASA leader, Raila Odinga, is not at that venue. Jubilee has also remained silent. It seems like the two main protagonists have taken a rest today. Remember, yesterday, Jubilee were in the lower eastern region where they're trying to woo voters from the larger Ukambani region, and NASA had some sort of a mega rally in Bomet County. That is the home turf of the first COG chair and Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto. Remember, this is the campaign edition, and we are here always talking about, you know, campaigns and nothing else. Oidi, let me just come back to you. Once again, you know, IEBC have time and again said, you know, these claims by NASA are unfounded. You know, this is not the first time that NASA has made such claims against the electoral body. Earlier on, we've seen NASA being at loggerhead with IEBC. There was a court issue about the issues to do with, you know, announcement of presidential results at the constituency level and not at the National Tallying Center. The commissioners were there before, were bungled out of office just because of NASA once again.
First of all, let me give you a brief explanation why NASA thinks there are secret voting centers. Remember, I have told you here a few minutes ago that I sent the number 134. It returned a voter in Roysambu. First of all, I'm sure if a physical register, hard copy was brought, there will be no ID number 134. So where is this? If you go to Kiambu County with a population, the last time 2009 of 1.62, Kakamega is 1.66 million. Kakamega registered 746. Kiambu registered 1.73 voters. It is not possible scientifically anywhere in the world to have a population in which the adults are more than the children. The adults are more than the under 18. It is not possible. So even if that was true for some reason or the other, it has to be investigated and verified so that people are at peace that these are really genuine voters. So some of these votes may not be there on the ground. They may be in some secret polling centers that are being hidden under the Kiambu County. So that when the vote returns and they say, we have got 1 million votes from Kiambu, nobody complains because they were registered voters. But they have to be explained. Because if they disobey any scientific proof that is known all over the world, they have to be investigated so that we are at peace that truly there are such a number of voters in Kiambu County.
Prof, Kiambu is no Kakamega, right? Kiambu is right to the capital city.
It's right to the capital. Next, in fact, voters in Kiambu have been eaten by Nairobi. So
there should be fewer.
There should be more than that. So the thing is, I do not want to cast aspersions on the IBC. And I've been very consistent on that one. Because it is dangerous. That in itself is recipe for chaos. When you start really throwing things at an independent, in fact, you are eroding the independence of IBC when you start condemning it before you have anything. Now, the question of is, what evidence is there? There's no evidence. But the very fact that you raise the questions, the allegations, becomes a tool for misuse and is being misused all the time. Now, the IBC is capable of defending itself. It does not need defense from anybody else. So those people who are casting stones, trying to discredit it before it even has done anything, the onus is on them to prove their case. Forget about what Mtumishi is saying, that they can make all the allegations they want, and then the target, the victim, is now forced, prove yourself that you're innocent from the allegations we made against you. I mean, it's ridiculous in itself. But that's what's going on. It implies that there are people who do not want this election. And the one way of making it difficult to have an election is to throw stones at the referee before he can even hold a whistle. So yeah, you throw stones at the referee, therefore there will be no game because there is no referee. You know, this kind of logic is... actually, if I was to advise ODM, I think I would suggest, please, grow up. You know, up your game a little bit, so that it makes sense. Because right now it does not make sense. All it implies is that there are some people who do not want an election for whatever reasons, and the best way to mess up the whole thing is simply to beat up the referee before he even has a whistle.
Do you agree with Prof that NASA is trying to play victim ahead of the elections?
Prof, surely. The Constitution clearly shows or describes when and why the election cannot take place in this country. You know, and we know them. One of them is war. We are not at war. Another is national calamity. We are not in any national calamity as we speak. What we have are issues that are being raised by players that the referee need to look at. It is not true that they are not ready for election. Actually, if there's a group that is much ready for the election, is NASA, given that they are on a campaign trail. You cannot be going to campaign trail if you're not ready for elections, surely. And I think, again, it is important that IBC comes out, and whatever my brother Calvin is saying, if indeed he did that 134 and he got a name from Roysambu, that is serious offense. And history has shown in this country that some of the government bodies have been used by the powers being, and it is important that people raise these issues, because the moment we stop raising these issues, then we'll be going to the drones.
I agree with you. Issues should be raised.
Let me just bring Ovidi here. You know, Prof is saying that NASA is trying to play victim, and of course this is feeding on to the narrative that Jubilee has been always riding on, saying that NASA is not ready for elections. They're sensing defeat.
One more time. You know, when you want to prove a case, there has to be a motive on it. What would be NASA's motive not to want elections? Because NASA wants to be in power. The only way they can be in power in this country now is through elections. In fact, if they delay the elections, they make the Jubilee last in government longer, and that is what they are fighting. In fact, NASA would have loved to have this election last year or in January, so that they take over power and probably do what they got to do, which they think they can do better than Jubilee. But also remember, there are very many ways of avoiding the elections if they didn't want. All they needed to do is not put a candidate. They would not get into the election because there are other candidates. So if it is true they didn't want elections, either they would not go for it, or they would not register any candidate. So I think suggesting that NASA does not want election is defeatist.
Is it healthy for NASA to raise all these claims?
It is healthy to raise all these claims. In fact, it is NASA helping Kenya. Yeah. Because right now, some of these things that have been sent to the voter register and returned fake entries is not done by the NASA. It is done by individual citizens. In fact, this was done by somebody in Kisii who sent it to me. He even told me there are 9 people here who had checked their names initially and found they were in the register. But now when they sent it by text, they returned that the records are not there. They visit the nearest IEBC office. So these are issues that don't need to be wished away. They need to be investigated. And by the way, for PR purposes, even if IEBC did not want to investigate them, let them just tell us they are investigating. It would bring the very peace that you want, the very peace that Kenyans need, the very peace that Jubilee want to have after probably they have taken the power.
So you're saying IEBC has remained silent on this?
They have dismissed it. They have, not they have dismissed it as they are in charge. In your home, if you tell your homemates that, look, thugs are coming, the head of the home does not come and tell you, no, I have very good friends. He has to peep and see if truly they can come and walk in. He has to check if truly these allegations could be true, despite the measures they have put in place.
Prof, there's another claim by NASA. I don't know if I should term it as astonishing, because they're saying they're talking about, securing bombers, and they're saying that there are claims of underground cables that can be used to, interfere with the results.
I don't know, but ODM is good at making claims. Yeah. Whether they are valid or not is not the issue. There have been a lot of allegations being made. When you ask for verification, they are not there. Just expect people to believe them simply because somebody shouted and said so. And the argument being brought that you really don't have to have evidence. Just make the statement and let the IBC worry about it. It's a way of destabilizing the independence of IBC, such that whatever it does, people be saying, so we told you that, we told you that. It is a destabilization strategy. If ODM has this evidence, put it on the table. Okay? Just put it on the table. Now, Kevin here is saying that some people are sending some numbers and they got something else. Did they report to the police or to the IBC? Because that's the logical thing. Do it, and the IBC, I agree with these two gentlemen, should investigate.
Yes.
And, that one is not a debate. If some report is made on something that appears untoward, the proper thing is to investigate and say we've investigated and this is the fact. I remember, let me give a personal, okay? When you were verifying the register, sometimes you forget things. I had registered with a passport. So when I went there, they were saying, just bring your ID. So my name was not there. So I said, okay, can you explain to me why this is happening? Yeah, I mean, it was a very simple thing. Just take the details, and they called me later and said, no, you are registered. You used a passport. So
it's a matter of proper communication.
Yeah, let us not destroy an institution. Because these allegations are meant to destroy the IBC, the independence of the IBC. And when you do that, then those who are predicting chaos because they like it will have their day.
I think you need to redefine independence. Because this independence of IBC, they can only be independent if you don't tell them where they're making mistakes. We have to tell them where the mistakes are so that they correct them in time before the elections. There is no need waiting until the elections is messed up, then we start saying, we saw this, but we did not say it. We need to say it now. We are not saying they should go home. We are saying, this is the mistake that we are seeing, investigate it and let the country know the truth.
Of course, your point is home and dry. Of course, this is the campaign edition of Choice 2017. We're talking about, we are always, of course, on the campaign trail. It's a bit dull day today, but you'll never get a dull moment right here in studio. NASA, as we're speaking, they are currently holding a rally in Homa Bay. Today, the NASA leader Raila Odinga is missing in action, but Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho is there together with Gladys Wanga, that is Homa Bay woman rep. We're going to go back there shortly, but before that, let's take a very short break. We'll be right back.